Welcome back to Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast presented by Zwift, the online cycling platform that makes training fun. LR here with Benji for a race that I've always liked a lot, Vuelta Burgos. It's a five-stage race finishing on the Saturday. It usually has two good mythical climbs, legendary climbs, Picon Blanco, where Remco won in 2020 when Almeida was with him on Quick Step. Sosa's done well here. Carthy won last year on Lagunas de Naya, which is the second famous climb in this race. Usually there's a nice little punchy finish too for the likes of a Gonzalo Serrano type, but Movistar didn't bring him, so I don't know what was going on there. They had Valverde. But yeah, it's a great little race. It's also a sprint stage and a break stage and some Vuelta GC guys here as well.
Most importantly, for me, the Vuelta Burgos the last years has become the vital preparation race for the Vuelta España. But also next to that, I feel like it's become my meter, my Carlos Rodriguez meter. In 2020, he got 23rd on Lagunas de Naya while domestiquing for somebody. Last year, he got 14th on Lagunas de Naya while domestiquing for somebody. Today, he'd start Lagunas de Naya as a domestique of Sivakov, and we'd see where he ends. And I was looking forward to see what would occur because Lagunas de Naya is the place that I was like, okay, this is a godlike talent. And who knows, we might see it today again.
Remember, Jay Vine came fifth on Lagunas de Naya last year, and even so, no World Tour teams seemingly took notice. But yeah, it's a what's peculiar test. But anyway, you know what we do? We'll do what we did with Tour de Polonia. So stage one was a little uphill kick, quite hard, and it caught some riders by surprise, and Santiago Buitrago, on what looked like almost an uphill sprint stage, stole a march and won, and actually took time. He put 3 seconds into Guerrero, Gegenhardt, and Hindley. Gegenhardt's always good on these finishes, with Kelderman, Nibali, Van Wilder, Sivakov, Chavez, Maida, Buchmann. Looking back, Masnada and Almeida lost time like 19 seconds as well. So 19 seconds is a lot, and he lost that on the first stage. I don't know if he punctured. I tried to look it up, but GC gaps there. And Butrago's, he won a similar stage in Saudi Tour. He jumped on a sort of punchy finish and won. He's won a Giro stage now, and I was kind of like Almeida Benji. Let's assume he might have punctured. He might have. I accept that.
Yeah.
Let's assume he didn't.
Yeah.
Didn't he win Tour de Polonia 2 stages on similar finishes? Like, it's weird. I feel like he and Hayter are quite similar at the moment, where you look at the profile, you're like, oh, that's really nice for his power profile, but then the positioning is too much of an issue to overcome it.
Yes, certainly. Losing 19 seconds on the first stage, even for Miguel Angel Lopez as well, also kind of unexpected on a climb like this. Well, I'd argue that should not be happening, and it happened on a stage like this. Very similar to Arensman losing time on that hill stage as well into the Polonia, for example, on a stage that you would expect him to not be great at, but also not lose 19-ish seconds on. So very similar parallels between those two stages. Now, I was shocked because when I saw this profile, very similar to what you just said, I thought, okay, this is a bit too steep for an uphill sprint, but a bit easy for actual punches to come out. So I didn't necessarily expect the Buitrago to be able to ride away. I felt like he kind of got not lucky, but his timing was good. His timing was good to the point where Guerrero did not respond to his attack. He thought, okay, it's still like 700, 800 meters to go. I'll let him have this, and I'll try and let someone else close. Then nobody closed it immediately, so they eventually all had to try and fly towards Buitrago in the end, and they came too short. So wonderful victory for Buitrago. Gradually growing. We saw him do very well at the Giro d'Italia, winning that stage in Lavarone, second in the Konya stage as well. This is a big talent, 22 years old, and I'm expecting much more from him in the future. And Loki said he's not riding the Vuelta because you and your rule of sending the youngsters to every single Grand Tour that is existent.
Is he not doing it?
Unfortunately, he's not doing it according to what I can see at least. But hey,
remember they didn't take him last year? It was unbelievable they didn't take him last year either. I don't know. And turns is off. It seems some guys are favourites and some guys aren't. But he wasn't the only guy that would win a stage for Bahrain in this race. I would say Garcia Cortina is here at this race.
Yeah.
And I think Serrano Benji, just to really focus on Movistar, it is a Spanish race after all. He has 27 race days, Gonzalo Serrano.
Ooh.
And most guys have over 40 at this point of the season. Even the guys doing the Vuelta, he's not on, at least according to PCS, to do the Vuelta. I don't understand what's going on.
Because he DNF'd Brugge de Panne and then was off the bike for 3 months. So I'm guessing something happened.
But he did Castilla y León and he did Circuito de Getxo last week.
Yeah, but 3 months between Brugge de Panne and Tour de Suisse means that something might have happened between there, you know?
Right.
That's at least how I see that. But you're right, he's performing pretty well in Castilla y León and so forth. So this parkour would have fit him quite well. It should have been compatible with Getxo, right? Am I stupid?
Yeah, of course. He would have been able to do it. It's like a 2-hour drive from Burgos from Basque Country. It's like really close. And the Navarra area where Movistar headquarters is just to the east of this and south of Basque Country. Yeah, so it's all very close.
Garcia Cortina is just a BTEC Aramburu at this point, right? Like,
where is Aramburu? Actually, he's being finishes this people's suits.
I don't know where Aramburu is. I feel like he's on a field somewhere. He rode Getxo, got 6th there. He rode Wallonie and got the 2nd on Murugui behind. I don't fucking know what he's doing. Okay,
but that's what I mean. He's in good shape. What? This finish is perfect for him.
Yeah.
Anyway,
correct.
We're all very confused about Movistar. But before we get to stage 2, speaking of stage 2, off the map, stage 2 is live on Zwift right now. There are 4 stages to complete for your chance to unlock a virtual kit on Zwift for your avatar, as well as the opportunity to rock a map jersey that's exclusive to people who've completed off the map, whether you're down under, and I'm going to be heading down there in I think just over a month for the World Championships, so hopefully it's not too cold, or you're enjoying the end of summer here in Europe or North America, off the map is perfectly placed for a little season tune-up. The stages are on the hour, every hour on Zwift, so head to Zwift.com to find out more about off the map and start your free 7-day trial. But stage 2 of Vuelta at Burgos was a bit of a messy. We mentioned this in the Polonia recap, the speed bump with like 600 meters to go on a downhill. Timo Rosen ended up winning the stage. Jumbo 1, 2, 3. There's not really much more to say on it if you've listened to Polonia, other than it's obviously dangerous, shouldn't happen, unacceptable, and a really big shame. And that was it really. I didn't even what's there to even analyze about the sprint? The stage was ruined.
Nothing to be analyzed about it. Just to descend with a speed bump, ruin the stage, make sure that tons of people crash in the stage. I think there was a pretty serious injury for Damien Touzé, so hopefully that guy pulls through that. I think head trauma after that stage, so let's hope he's relatively recovering at this very moment. The fact that Carlos Rodriguez gets 5th in that stage, that's just showing that he's still fighting to the line there, which is the only thing I can pull out of this entire stage. So let's skip this stage and let's head to the next one then. Stage 3 was a stage where, I don't know, I've pick on Blanco with a descent finish. I still have issues with it. I don't know why. You have issues with that or not?
They got really, really lucky that Sivakov went long. This could have been really bad. So they have Pick on Blanco, which is a hard 7K 9% climb. Usually it's a mountaintop finish. As I said, Evenepoel I think won before on it. It's a legendary climb, the White Mountain, fog on it, steep sections, technical descent in parts, and they put it 35 Ks from the finish, the top of it, maybe, and so it wasn't just a descent finish. There was literally flat. There was even a little hill before the finish, and so the risk is non-threatening break goes. GC guys think, what's the point? And we have a snoozer of the stage. Luckily, Sivakov launched. INEOS had multiple leaders here. Rodriguez, Gegenhardt, and Sivakov. Oh, did someone go before him?
This is Vincenzo Nibali, the GOAT, the son of Neptune, Ello Squalo dello Stretto erasure right here. Gegenhardt made a move. Nibali joined Gegenhardt and basically launched Sivakov. So without Nibali, Sivakov never gets away on the stage. It's similar to RVV where Terpstra won. Nibali launched Terpstra to that victory. Get it right, people.
But they're not on his team, so that's
I agree, they're not on his team, but...
Is Hino Lopez on his team, or are they... Maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, Sivakov went clear. the minute I saw him going, I was like,
Yeah.
he must be in good shape, because Sivakov's a tall guy. Like, he's one of the unfortunate guys who's not 190 centimeters, and the TT rule really hurts the 187 centimeter guys. So there's only so much you can do with this TT tall guy. He did well in San Sebastian. When you look at Remco's watts, for him to be doing that well on lights, on again, steep stuff is good. And then Picon Blanco's steep and he's going away. And what really impressed me as well was his descending. A guy who's crashed out of the Vuelta last year when he hit a tree. Now, descending is not the same as riding in a bunch in a sprint finish. That doesn't mean his bunch handling is better, but his descending is looking not just good, or not just competent, but above average. San Sebastian, he bridged across and dropped Lopez. Or dropped some other riders. And then San Sebastian, he dropped Lopez, who went with him on, who didn't offer a pull at all on Picon Blanco, and then dropped him on the descent, joining the break. So that's looking really good for him, and also a template for going long for INEOS. They do not have, I don't know if Carapaz is going, but if they want to win the Vuelta, they need to make the most of going far, using multiple guys and descending and satellite riders, etc., which could have been used on this stage too as satellite.
I agree, but there's a risk there because Remco Evenepoel's in the Vuelta and is better at that thing than an INEOS rider, for example, to going long. But I will say, when it comes to Picon Blanco, advocate of the devil right here, I felt like when I was watching Picon Blanco, Sivakov went off the front there, kind of launched by that hard and Nibali thing, and eventually got a bit of a gap, and the group behind was 20-25 riders. Was it also in numbers a good climbing performance? Because I felt like people were responding and sitting up a bit in that second group for at least a few minutes.
I don't think it was that fast. I think it was like 6:4:25. I'd have to check. 6.1. And the thing is, there was a big regroupment. So maybe the first 5 guys of the GC group did do faster, but then on the plateau, when it was foggy, they stop. And like you saw, if you watch closely, Mikel Bizkarra, Euskaltel rider, he's off the back before the descent starts properly, but it's a fast drag. The guy's like 55 kilos, and you hear the motorbike say to him, do you want a tow? And then he says, yeah, flicks his head and says, get in front. And then the guy literally drags him. Like, it's not just like, when Lefebvre was complaining about the Spanish motos helping in San Sebastian. This literally, they did it on camera. And it was from the moto's camera that he's filming it does. It's so funny. So yeah, maybe Vizcarra did like 5.9. So not super, super fast. I would say, though, Education First had at least 3, maybe 4. Bora had Buchmann, Hindley, Kelderman, and it was just Sivakov out in front, and I have no idea how they didn't bring him back. Now, Sivakov was strong, but the coordination between Bora, EF, and any of the other teams was really poor. It was one guy would go to the front, pull, and then get mad that none of the other teams were helping. It was the opposite. You know, when the sprint teams all send 2 each and they coordinate in a TTT, it's the opposite of that. And the gap was, I think, out to 40 seconds. And as I said, it's a long false flat, and they couldn't bring him back. And they spent Carthy, and he lost time, helping Chavez and Guerrero on GC, but then Chavez would struggle today. So I was surprised they couldn't bring back more on Sivakov, Benji, because you'd have to think you had a chance of doing something on Lagunas tonight. I was really surprised.
Does it make sense that you also got kind of a thing there when it comes to Bora, where they have Hindley, Buchmann, Kelderman, probably all 3 trying to ride for their own GC? Or did we see explicitly on Picon Blanco already that one of those 3 was folding into an almost equal for another?
Well, if Buchmann's not going to take a pull for Hindley in the Giro, I don't think he's going to start here. So, I mean, maybe he did pull. I swear I saw Hindley pulling a lot on the flat as well.
For his own GC, probably.
Yes. So that was a bit strange. Obviously, INEOS had Gegenhardt and Rodriguez sitting in. They didn't really mess up the chase too much. Santiago Buitrago had no teammates pretty much except Pernsteiner, and so he was just kind of hoping they'd bring it back. But yeah, EF had Caicedo, Carthy, Guerrero, and Chavez, and maybe picked the wrong horse. Bora 3 and couldn't bring it back. So Sivakov, He catches up to the break. He drops two of them, I think Repa or another guy, and he dropped Lopez on the descent, as I said. Catches up with Bastien Tranchant, a French rider, stagiaire, probably signed it 4 days ago or less, or 3 days before, with AG2R, 20 years old. And he's been in the break. And this is what I was always I've been thinking about since this stage, or maybe too much. He plays it so smart at 20 years old, and it made me think, is race composure, can it be taught, or do riders just have it and they can't be taught? Like, there's some riders who you're like, oh, he'll figure it out. Like, he won't keep making mistakes. He won't keep choking finishes in groups of 3 or 4. Or there's riders like Tranchant was refusing to pull Sivakov. Sivakov was not abusing it. He was like saying, come on, take a fucking pull. And Tranchant was like, nope, I won't pull until after the hill. And then after the hill, he gives Sivakov like the softest one little courtesy pull, and he knows he's got a decent finish, and Sivakov's not that fast. He knows the gap is 40 seconds. Other stagiaires, Benji, would have been compelled into pulling.
A random question surrounding that. We often talk about French teams like HDSR and Groupama being ones that don't look after aero that much, that aren't necessarily looking into the marginal gains for their riders as much as a team like INEOS and Jumbo and so forth do. But we see that the development team of Groupama and HDSR are so bloody strong. Is it that their development team is like much further to the point where their youngsters are getting better at that stuff than their World Tour riders? Or is there just a random comment that you think is stupid?
Well, maybe they have a better pool of talent. Maybe it's a self-fulfilling prophecy where if you keep getting guys World Tour contracts, the best talent is going to want to sign with you for the Conti team. And isn't the FDJ Conti run by Australian or a British guy?
You want to take credit already? Is it run by an Australian guy?
You say he's Australian. He's probably French. But let's just run with him being Australian, given that Plowright's there or was there. I don't know. I don't know the answer. But Tranchant showed really, really good poise and stuff that you see other riders with 10 years experience making mistakes and pulling too much when they don't need to. And he wins the stage as a stagiaire, ahead of Sivakov in the sprint, Valverde leading the group over behind. That means Sivakov was able to take the jersey, 23 ahead of Buitrago, 26 ahead of Guerrero. So he just had to defend that on Lagunas de Naya in a couple of days. The next stage, stage 4, was a breakaway stage again. I don't know if Govacar's a stagiaire, but there were two young riders in the break. The break consisted of Goldstein, Seri, Gamper, Asprin, Luis Mas, Barthelo, Hofstede, Martin, and Gaviria, as well as Valentin Retalo, who is a stagiaire, another one on AG2R, and Govacar, who's a Slovenian on Bar and Victorious young sprinter, 22 years old, and he's already got like a 9th at Tour of Slovenia, and he beat Mezgets in a reduced bunch sprint in the Slovenian national champs. Like, he's not slow. And it was a little uphill finish. What was curious to me, Benji, again, this is another thing about race tactics, composure, etc. Patrick Gamper and Aspirant are time trialists. This is a 2K 4.5% finish. Were the two young guys underrated because they haven't done anything at pro level yet? Even though a cursory look at their results in U23, and not even U23, for Govacar, suggests these guys are fast. Why are the two time trialists starting attacking at like 5Ks to go, 4Ks to go, when the gap was 4.5 minutes and the climb is at 2Ks to go?
I don't know. You'd expect... Well, like, are you saying you'd expect them to go later or earlier?
Way earlier.
Yeah, right? Because
there was only time for, like, Gamper went, nearly snapped the elastic. Asprin went, that nearly went, and then they're at the base of the climb. If there was a couple of moves from Gamper and Asprin again, I don't think they get brought back.
I agree with that, actually. I think when it comes to Gamper, it's a bit like... I swear there's been stages in his younger years when he was like still 20, 21, 20, 22, those like years where he had a bit of a kick in breakaway. So maybe he overrated that aspect, but you're right, he's more of a rouleur type rider these days in those kind of senses. So I agree they should have gone earlier, and they basically. I think there's also the aspect that Govekar is underrated. Like, he hasn't proven himself at pro level yet. So I think it's a combination of both, if I have to be honest.
Camper should have started at 10Ks to go, and I think he wins this stage. He spent a lot of energy. Like, it's always curious to me when, and you never see Kamna doing it, when the gap to a peloton 5 wide, do not care about the stage, is 3.5 minutes with 8Ks to go, and guys are still rolling through, and they take the gap to 4.5. I'm like, why? Like, you guys are going to win easily, and the time trialists should be trying to get rid of the punchy guys. Like, Gamper's like 195 centimeters, big guy, and they really struggled to bring him back. And he only had time for one attack. But anyway, that's what happened. They then go 6 wide on the climb. Goldstein, I think, was pretty good on the climb. But he wasn't able to set a hard enough pace. It wasn't steep enough. Seri, I thought, would try something, but Aspirin and Gamper, the TT guys, they were dropped. Luis Mas, who's a bit punchy, he tried to attack at 500 to go, promptly blew up. And it was the 2 youngsters, perhaps underrated, Retalu jumping, really good initial burst, but Govekar was smart again, sat on his wheel, and then had his last burst. And his interview afterwards suggested, again, he's pretty smart, knew what he was doing. And the 2 young guys basically clowned everybody, because I think this could have played out a lot differently in terms of GC. Absolutely nothing happened, really. So Govekar, he's Slovenian, he's on Bahrain. They're going to put a lot into him. Yeah, he's going to get a lot of opportunities. I don't know. It's just a nice win, I guess. And I hope the 2 AG2R guys get a World Tour contract. The next stage, Lugano Stania, the last 3 kilometers are very, very steep. The first sort of 3 or 4 are not as steep or undulating. And Sosa's done well here. Lopez has done well here. The question was, could Sivakov be dropped? And by guys close enough on GC, like Ruben Guerrero, like Lopez. Almeida had already lost too much. Hindley. And the answer was no. INEOS set a good train. Depluce looked very good. Chris Harper attacked. Jersey unzipped on the 5% section. And then Miguel Angel Lopez went at 2.5 Ks to go. At that point, this is when the steep stuff starts. Almeida starts doing Almeida things, setting his own pace. And it was clear. Lopez attacked above his limit. Rodriguez brought him back with Sivakov. And Almeida just did exactly what he did on Blockhouse, Benji. Same pace, whole time.
Yeah. But this was next level compared to Blockhouse. On Blockhouse, he was dropping with 8 to 9 riders left, and those were the GC favorites, perhaps even 7 riders left on there. But when I was watching the stage, I was watching it. I was literally watching Almeida this entire climb, and it's just a thing I did on this stage, and I felt like it was intriguing because I was curious what he was going to do on a climb that is shorter than a Blockhouse, for example. The steep section is only 3 kilometers long, but I feel like the exponential gradient of this climb, starting off at a lower gradient, going steeper and steeper, might make it easier for that strategy to work out. And I spotted him at 3.5K to go already at the back, dropping with 20, 25, 30 riders left in the group. And I thought, okay, for this strategy to be a thing, that's really kind of early. But rider by rider, he started passing riders. And we're talking about random tertiary domestiques on climbing teams at that point in the race. And again, 3 kilometers to go, extra rider gets dropped, he gets past them. He's even in second and third groups for certain moments. He just controls his own pace and passes riders. And the more you go towards the finish line of the stage, the closer he gets. We had a stand-up pacing early on the climb for legend Vincenzo Nibali, definitely not for Miguel Angel Lopez, of course, because Vincenzo Nibali is the GOAT. It's probably for Lopez. But INEOS took over, and we basically had a chasing game, INEOS pacing at the front. We had Gegenhardt sitting in the wheel of Carlos Rodriguez, who was doing
dropped.
The pacing.
When Lopez attacked, he was dropped.
Yeah, exactly. So Sivakov basically switched to the wheel of Carlos Rodriguez, and we had a game between Carlos Rodriguez pacing at the front with Sivakov in the wheel, with people trying to attack that INEOS train, and Almeida off the back, passing rider by rider, closing in.
And I was like, are INEOS going to Fedaya themselves again? I've made that a verb. Are they going to pace too hard? And then Sivakov, who was pacing on Fedaya, is Hindley going to mug them? The answer was no. Hindley didn't have his top shape, but this is a preparation race. He was dropping. Chavez was dropped early, and it looked. And Carthy came top 10 on the stage, but so both of them kind of lose out because Carthy lost time on stage 3. And yeah, Carlos Rodriguez, fantastic performance. Like Sivakov even attacked him with Lopez in the wheel, which maybe was unnecessary at one point. It was quite far from the finish, maybe 1,200, 1,300 meters to go. And yeah, Almeida worked his way back to that group with about 600 left. Rodriguez still pacing, and Almeida attacks with like 300 to go. Only Lopez can go with him. Sivakov is gapped. He loses 7 seconds, but that's not enough. And yeah, really good burst from Almeida. And we know against like a Quintana or I'm not sure if he even beat Higuita and Boitol in Catalonia, but he's fast finisher and he dusts Lopez in the sprint easily. Great win for him. Ahead of Lopez, Sivakov third, Carlos Rodriguez fourth, really good. Van Wilder fifth for Quick Step. So that's very, very important for Evenepoel for the Vuelta. Guerrero sixth, Hindley seventh, Elizondo, a nice performance, eighth. Carthy's always good on steep, ninth, and then Kelderman 10th. GC Sivakov wins 35 seconds out of Almeida. Lopez third, Rodriguez fourth, Van Wilder fifth, and yeah, pretty good result for Almeida. Pretty good from Sivakov. I think. What does this say for the Vuelta? I have no idea. Hindley, Almeida, Sivakov, Rodriguez. How do they each? Where's their form lines? Are they going to do altitude after this? I don't know.
Carlos Rodriguez should be co-leader at INEOS at the Vuelta 100%. I don't trust Sivakov completely for the Vuelta.
Mate, what can Rodriguez do on a 7% climb?
Well, what can Sivakov do on a Grand Tour? He's never proven to be able to do it for 3 weeks in a row.
Nah, he's good. Sivakov's on. The leaders should be Sivakov and Platt. Platt, like, Rodriguez, just be a domestique.
Nah.
His TT's no good, is it?
It's a pretty good TT, mate. Carlos Rodriguez can't TT.
Not convinced. Not convinced. Why did he get? Where was he?
He's got a podium Vuelta, mate.
Why did he get dropped today? That's my question. On
terrain, he was not mistaking for Sivakov.
Nah, I don't know. I think they got to use multiple options because Carapaz is supposedly off. I wouldn't take Carapaz. I would just let the young guys run loose and see what happens. But that's a bit of chaos. Almeida's going to be. Pogacar's not doing the tour. I think that's confirmed, right? So Almeida will be going to the Vuelta. The climbs really, really suit him. The parkour really, really suits him. So podium should be the minimum, really, expectation for Almeida. I think he would have been in with a shot of podium in the Giro. I don't know how he goes in very, very hot conditions, but these climbs in the Vuelta just suit him so much.
Yeah, I think so as well. Like, it's indeed very difficult to anticipate where he's going to finish, but that's with a lot of people in this Vuelta. We don't know how far Roglic is going to be when it comes to his recovery to the Vuelta. For example, is he riding the Vuelta? We don't know his back injury healing process. I don't know what to trust when it comes to sources. Then Remco Evenepoel, will he be able to succeed for 3 weeks in a row? You say he's going to win the Vuelta. That's possible. I don't disagree that it's impossible. There's just so many question marks with every single leader. Hindley dropping today off the wheel of Sivakov. Is that good because it's too early to peak? I don't know. Is Sivakov peaking too early in Burgos? Is he cursed now? I don't know. I just know that Carlos Rodriguez will podium this Vuelta, and there's nothing you can do about it.
I don't know about that. Maybe for steeper. Sierra Nevada, there should be decent gaps. But yeah, I think Evenepoel is actually going to walk it. Like, I think it's not going to... I actually don't think the Vuelta...
How many minutes?
That he wins the Vuelta by?
Yeah.
At least 2.
Okay.
That's walking. That's a walking. My only concern is that Quick Step will be like, well, in the Giro 2021, he did too much in the first week, so we should try and be really defensive in the first week, even though the whole first week parkour is much better for him, and Roglic might be underprepared, and Hindley always comes into own in week 3. That's my concern, is that they'll just talk themselves into a stupid strategy. But Van Wilder looks really, really good, so that's important too. And this is a steep climb. It'll be better for him on the 6-7% stuff.
What if Van Wilder turns out to be better than Evenepoel at the Vuelta?
No, that's just mathematically impossible.
Mathematically impossible, okay.
Also, like, that's not in the quick step planning book. Is Evenepoel being subordinate to Dylan Van Wilder. So even if he is better, he's not allowed to be better. It's impossible. Anyway, Vuelta Burgos, good win for Sivakov. That's his first win since 2019, maybe, when he won Tour de Pologne. So been 3 years or 4. Is it 4 seasons almost? So he's back in winning ways. Still a youngish rider.
How old is he?
25.
Because it's been so long since Sivakov was around. I swear we were scouting him, or at least looking at him for when I was playing Pro Cycling Manager back in the day at the BMC development team. It's been so long since he's been around, and he's been to INEOS then. Took a few years now. He was great at that Dauphiné in 2020, I think, before the Tour de France started. Very strong together with Castelvejo there. We thought, okay, Sivakov might be very strong in this Tour de France. And then he crashed on day one 17 times. And eventually, I don't even know if he finished that Tour de France at this point, but had a lot of bad luck.
These fucking breaks, wasn't it? The clip where he was on the knee stage.
Yeah.
He's saying back, he's like, these fucking breaks. I can't do his French accent. But yeah. I remember that poor guy.
Hey,
couldn't stop.
Do you think Sivakov is going to be the first French rider to win a World Tour stage race in X amount of years?
I mean, why not? Why not? The problem's the TT. The Vuelta, no. The problem's the TT, and I guess if they can send him to the right one, will France claim it?
France should claim it. They're not going to claim anything else otherwise.
Yeah. I mean, anyway, Champoussin not looking too good. I think that guy's out of contract. Probably hoping for a big contract. He came, I think, 20th on the National. So, yeah, that's not great. Anyway, that was Vuelta Burgos. We've got a transfers recap coming up in the next couple of days. Make sure you check out Off the Map events on Zwift, and we'll see you either on Monday or Tuesday. Until then, ciao.